Hey everyone, I'm Michael, and welcome to another video. This is a little bit of a devlog for Red Team, and more so, just wanting to ask you guys something outside of the Discord server and into the more broad community. I really want to know your opinion on something. Um, so as you can probably see, we've been talking about Red Team a lot in the Red Team chat. Which, by the way, if you're not there, you really should be there. It's kind of cool. And I'd like to have more people on the server. That would be really, really cool. But anyway, that aside, we've been talking about story and world building and all that stuff in the game. And it started out basically, to summarize this, it started out with me thinking, okay, well, I've ported the game to OpenGL and all that stuff, and it's working, but there's no gameplay just yet. So what do I do now? Obviously, I add gameplay, but what gameplay? So I started brainstorming ideas for the game's story because that helps me think of gameplay elements. And it started out with me thinking, okay, well, the game's named Red Team, so obviously the player's going to be red teaming. But what if I make it so that the whole story is of the player slowly descending into moral madness and, becoming a criminal? They start out as a red team agent, but then become a criminal. Makes sense? And then we started brainstorming in the chat. And long story short, I have an idea for how I want to structure the game. I want to have it take place in a city instead of the broad world. I want to have a social media type thing in the game, sort of like Twitter. And I started talking about all these ideas that I have for the game in Red Team chat here on Discord. And we came up with the whole idea of having, or as a joke, I came up with the idea of, you know, maybe an NPC would accidentally leak their email address through social media, and then you could, hack their email account because now you know their email address and what email provider they use. And then from there, you could either report their phone is stolen and have it wipe remotely with no confirmation, or you could do password reset exploits, or you could skip the entire hacking mechanic and just sign them up for, political surveys. That was a joke. But then my friend Tobias had the idea of, well, what if you added a character that's kind of a ripoff of, but not totally like, Donald Trump to the game that sends out political surveys and stuff. And then I thought, okay, the game has social media in it. That would literally work. Um, so then my idea was that I want to make the game take place in not exactly 2020, but a fictional depiction of 2020. Like, after the pandemic has started, but before Trump got banned off Twitter. I think that would be a very interesting storyline to add to a hacking game. And I think that I would be able to come up with some pretty creative ideas for it, because I've been through basically that storyline. The pandemic is still happening. But the problem that I ran into with this, which is where I need your help, is that none of this really relates to, red team. I mean, you're not red teaming. It has nothing to do with the name of the game. So I have two choices here. Either I can scrap these ideas outright and come up with new ones that are more related to the name, or I can rename the game and go forth with these gameplay and storyline ideas. Which is where I'm not really sure what to do, what decision to make. I would like to know your opinions on this. If I stay with this whole storyline that we're coming up with this whole idea of the game taking place in a fictional depiction of 2020, I'm going to be renaming the game to Socially Distant. I already have art assets for that from when Socially Distant was a game that I was making, and it's easy to use it, and that name makes sense with that whole storyline. Um, but if not, then I'm gonna have to try to make or to come up with ideas that relate to the name Red Team, and I'm honestly having a hard time figuring that out. Um, so basically, the whole summary of this video is I'm deciding whether I want to rename the game or redo the storyline, and I'd like to know what you guys would like me to do. So please, either comment on this video's description, or you can hop on the Discord and we can talk about it. But I want to know what the community at large thinks I should do as far as Red Team's name goes. Should it be called the Red Team and I scrap the storyline ideas, or should I go with the storyline idea that we've already come up with and rename the game to something that makes a little more sense? Anyway, that's sort of my devlog for today, or for the end of this week in general, to be honest, because I'm really not going to be programming the game for the next few days. I'm going to be focusing mostly on just brainstorming and coming up with world building ideas. I have a lot already. With that said, that's going to end this devlog. And as always, I'm Michael. I can't really say I hope you learned something, because I probably didn't. But I can still say I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.